They asked her to leave the store. They humiliated her because of her clothes and her body. What they didn't know was that she owned everything. Amanda was there to see with her own eyes how they treated those who didn't fit in. And what happened next changed the fate of an entire brand forever. This story is a silent revolution that begins with an act of courage. Before we begin, like and subscribe so we can continue creating stories like this one. It was a Tuesday like any other in the exclusive area of Beverly Hills, Los Angeles. The clock showed 10:42 in the morning when Amanda Morgan crossed the glass doors of Eternal Elegance, the most prestigious boutique in the entire neighborhood. The establishment, known for not displaying ostentatious signs, was a sanctuary of quiet luxury where service was offered in whispers and prices were never questioned. Every detail was meticulously calibrated to satisfy a very specific type of clientele. Sophisticated, thin, discreet, and above all, belonging to the American elite. Amanda, or Mandy as her few friends called her, didn't correspond to any of these criteria. She wore loose sweatpants, worn-out sneakers, and a baggy t-shirt that didn't hide her body outside the standards dictated by fashion. Her jet-black hair was gathered in an improvised bun, and her face, free of makeup, reflected a disconcerting serenity. She walked through the racks carefully, caressing the fabrics as if she recognized each one of them. And the truth is that she did recognize them, although no one in the store knew it yet. Victoria Sanders, the receptionist strategically positioned next to the central mannequin, noticed her presence and froze her rehearsed smile. The discomfort spread quickly, like intense perfume in a closed space. It was then that Carolyn Foster, a regular customer known for her haughty air and malicious comments, approached Amanda with firm steps and an inquisitive look. "This store is exclusive," Caroline declared bluntly, adjusting the jewelry that adorned her neck. "You're making everyone uncomfortable here. This is not a place for people like you." Amanda maintained a serene gaze but didn't respond. Her silence was interpreted as an affront. Caroline turned to Victoria and demanded, with the authority of someone who confuses consumption with power, "Call security, please. There's someone who doesn't belong in this place." Victoria hesitated. There was something about the young woman's face that seemed vaguely familiar to her, but the fear of contradicting such an important customer as Caroline Foster prevailed. In a matter of seconds, Robert Quinn, the security guard, appeared. Tall, rigid, with an imperturbable posture that he had perfected during years of service in luxury establishments. "Miss, I ask you to please accompany me to the exit," said Robert, with forced politeness as he approached Amanda. She, without breaking, her silence, took out her cell phone and made a single call. "Mom, I'm in the store. It's happened again." No more words were necessary. 10 minutes later, a black Mercedes-Benz stopped in front of the boutique. From it descended Sophia Morgan, a 60-year-old woman whose natural elegance made Caroline's excesses seem vulgar. With a firm posture and a gaze trained to detect falsehoods, she entered without greeting anyone. She went directly to Amanda, hugged her affectionately, and then turned to those present, especially to Caroline, who was now growing pale. "This is my daughter," she announced in a clear and firm voice, "and this store is ours." The atmosphere completely froze. The few customers who were in the place stopped checking the garments. Victoria seemed to shrink behind the counter. Robert Quinn took a step back, visibly uncomfortable. Caroline Foster stammered incoherent explanations. "Sophia, dear, I didn't know. I thought she was one of those people who just come in to bother. I never imagined that your daughter. She looks so different, and with those clothes." "Prejudice has a price, Caroline," Sophia responded, with a low but firm voice. "And you'll learn it the hard way, by being forgotten." Sophia took Amanda by the arm, and together they toured the store, while the staff and customers observed in a sepulchral silence. Before leaving, Sophia stopped in front of the manager, Patricia Miller, a woman who had been managing the boutique for 15 years. "Tomorrow, first thing in the morning, I want a meeting with all the staff. No exceptions," she ordered. That night in the Morgan mansion in Bel Air, Amanda remained quiet as she observed the city from the terrace. Her mother approached with 2 cups of tea and sat beside her. "You shouldn't expose yourself like that. Mandy, you know what those women are like." "That's precisely why I do it, Mom," Amanda finally replied, breaking the silence she had maintained for hours. "I'll inherit the entire Morgan empire someday, won't I? I need to know its true essence, not the sugar-coated version they would show me if they knew who I was." Sophia sighed, contemplating her only daughter. Since patriarch Edward Morgan had fallen ill 3 months ago, Amanda had begun this strange personal crusade, visiting each of the family businesses dressed as an ordinary citizen to experience firsthand the treatment received by those who didn't belong to the privileged circle. "Your father would never understand what you're doing," said Sophia, almost to herself. "Dad has been in the hospital for months, and the doctors say his condition is irreversible." "It's time we start thinking differently," Amanda replied firmly. "The Morgan empire needs to change, Mom, and I'm going to change it." Meanwhile, in her luxurious apartment in Beverly Hills, Caroline Foster was desperately trying to contact Sophia Morgan. Her calls were systematically rejected. She had committed the most serious error in her social world, humiliating the heiress of the Morgan empire, one of the most powerful business conglomerates in America. Morgan Group not only owned the Eternal Elegance chain of boutiques, but also hotels, restaurants, and media outlets. "Caroline, you need to calm down," her husband, James Richardson, a rising politician, tried to soothe her. "Tomorrow you'll send flowers and a formal apology." "You don't understand, James," she replied, visibly upset. "No one messes with the Morgans and gets away with it. Sophia can ruin your political career with just one call." The next morning, the meeting at Eternal Elegance began promptly at 8 a.m. To the surprise of the staff, it wasn't Sophia who presided over it, but Amanda, dressed this time in an impeccable tailored suit that revealed a natural elegance inherited from her mother. "Good morning, everyone," Amanda began, observing the nervous faces of the staff. "My name is Amanda Morgan, and from today on I will assume the creative direction of Eternal Elegance. I'm not here to fire anyone or to look for culprits. I'm here to transform this company from within." Victoria, the receptionist, was trying to hold back tears. Robert, the guard, kept his gaze fixed on the floor. Patricia, the manager, seemed about to faint. "What you witnessed yesterday," Amanda continued, "wasn't a setup or a test. It was my daily reality. The reality of many people who are judged by their appearance, by their weight, for not fitting into the standards that brands like ours have helped perpetuate." A deep silence settled in the room. Amanda smiled slightly before continuing. "But this is going to change, and you're going to help me change it." In the following days, the Eternal Elegance boutique experienced an unprecedented transformation. Amanda, far from imposing drastic changes immediately observed. She spent hours in the store, attending to customers, organizing inventory, listening to staff conversations. She wanted to understand the internal dynamics before revolutionizing. Victoria Sanders, the receptionist, avoided looking at her directly. The shame for her behavior during the incident persisted like a shadow between them. It was on the 3rd day when Amanda approached her during a quiet moment. "Why do you work here, Victoria?" she asked straightforwardly. The receptionist, surprised by the question, stammered before answering, "I need the job, Miss Morgan. I have 2 children and I'm a single mother." "I didn't ask you why you need to work. I asked you why you work here, at Eternal Elegance specifically." Victoria remained silent for a few seconds, reflecting. "Because I've always liked fashion. I dreamed of being a designer, but life took a different turn." Amanda nodded, as if she had confirmed something she already suspected. "And what do you think about our clientele?" They are important people, miss." "You haven't answered me, Victoria." The receptionist lowered her voice. "Some are cruel. Like Mrs. Foster. They treat us as if we were invisible, or worse yet, as if we only existed to serve them." A slight smile formed on Amanda's face. "That's what I thought. Thank you for your honesty." That same afternoon, Amanda had a similar conversation with Robert Quinn. The security guard, a man of few words, surprised everyone when he revealed that in his youth he had studied fashion photography but had abandoned it due to lack of opportunities. "This job pays well, Miss Morgan. And with 3 children in college, I can't afford to chase dreams." A week after the incident, Amanda called for an extraordinary meeting. This time, not only was the staff of the Beverly Hills boutique present, but also the managers of the other 7 Eternal Elegance stores distributed throughout the United States. The boardroom at the Morgan Group headquarters was full, and a palpable nervousness floated in the atmosphere. "I thank you all for coming," Amanda began, dressed in an elegant dress that, to the surprise of many, was plus-sized and looked spectacular. "During this week, I've listened to your stories, your frustrations, and also your ideas. Today, I'm here to announce that Eternal Elegance is going to change forever." She then displayed a presentation that left everyone speechless. The brand's new strategy included a complete renovation. They would expand the available sizes, hire models of different body types, implement strict policies against discriminatory treatment toward both staff and customers, and launch a revolutionary advertising campaign. "The campaign will be called I Belong," Amanda explained, enthusiastically. "And it won't be about forced inclusion or victimization. It will be about genuine belonging, about occupying spaces without asking for permission." To everyone's surprise, she announced that she herself would be the central image of the campaign, not as the heiress of the Morgan Empire, but as Amanda, a real woman with a real body who defied the standards imposed by the fashion industry. "And for this transformation, I'll need a diverse and brave team," she concluded, looking directly at Victoria and Robert. "Victoria Sanders will be our new customer service coordinator, in charge of completely redesigning the in-store experience, and Robert Quinn will direct the photography for our new campaign." Murmurs spread through the room. No one could believe what they were hearing. Patricia Miller, the manager of the Beverly Hills boutique, timidly raised her hand. "Excuse me, Miss Morgan, but Victoria doesn't have management training, and Robert, well, he's a security guard. Victoria has something much more valuable than a degree: empathy and direct knowledge of how it feels to be mistreated. And Robert has talent and vision. What both have lacked is opportunity, and that's precisely what I'm giving them." Meanwhile, in another part of the city, Caroline Foster was beginning to experience the consequences of her behavior. She tried to shop at another Eternal Elegance branch, but her preferred customer card was mysteriously deactivated. Then, to her humiliation, she discovered that her name had been removed from the guest list for the season launch of a prestigious American designer, an event sponsored by Morgan Group. "It's unacceptable," she complained to her husband James. "The Morgans are retaliating." "I warned you, Caroline," he replied, visibly concerned. "Now I'm receiving pressure in my campaign. Some sponsors are mysteriously withdrawing." "That fat girl can't do this. Who does she think she is?" "She's the heiress of the largest business conglomerate in the country, Caroline, and you publicly humiliated her." The I Belong campaign was launched a month later, and the impact was immediate. The photographs, masterfully captured by Robert Quinn, showed Amanda in different settings: in the boutique, in elegant restaurants, at social events. Always in beautiful clothes, always radiant, always proud of her body. The message was clear: beauty has no size, and style is not exclusive to one type of body. Social media exploded. Thousands of women began sharing their own stories of discrimination in luxury stores, restaurants, or exclusive clubs. Influencers of all sizes supported the initiative, and most surprisingly, Eternal Elegance's sales skyrocketed. "It's impressive," commented Sophia Morgan as she reviewed the financial reports with her daughter. "Sales have increased by 40% in just 2 weeks, and the Beverly Hills store, which was always the most exclusive, is now the most frequented." "I told you, Mom, inclusion is not only the right thing to do, it's also good business. Women are tired of being told they're not enough." Edward Morgan, from his hospital room, was also receiving news of the success. Although his condition remained delicate, there were moments of lucidity in which he could understand what was happening. Amanda visited him daily, telling him every detail of her silent revolution. "Your father would be proud," a nurse told her one day. after listening to Amanda relate the latest developments to Edward, who seemed to listen although he couldn't respond. "I can see it in his eyes when you talk." "My father never understood why I cared about these things," Amanda replied with a certain sadness. "He was always a traditional businessman, economic benefit above all else. Maybe now he understands, seeing you succeed by doing things your way." While the I Belong campaign continued to gain ground, Amanda received an unexpected letter. It was from Robert Quinn, handwritten. "Miss Morgan, I want to thank you for the opportunity you have given me. I never thought that at 45 I could dream again of being a photographer. But beyond my personal gratitude, I want to ask for your forgiveness. Forgiveness for that day when I didn't think, when I obeyed without questioning, when I contributed to something unfair. I've learned that true respect has nothing to do with appearance or social position. Thank you for teaching me that by your example." Amanda read the entire letter in silence. Afterward, she made a decision that would surprise everyone. She named Robert as her personal security director, but not only that. She entrusted him with the creation of a new department within Morgan Group, a photographic studio, specializing in inclusive fashion. The message was clear. The revolution was just beginning, and although it was silent, its effects would resonate for a long time. The Richardson Foster mansion in the exclusive neighborhood of Westwood looked particularly quiet that afternoon. Caroline observed her reflection in the mirror while her personal stylist tried to fix her hair for the important event that night, the annual gala of the American Cultural Foundation, one of the most prestigious events in the country. "More volume on top, Heather, and make sure not a single hair is out of place," she ordered in her usual authoritative tone. The stylist nodded silently, accustomed to her client's mood swings. In recent weeks, Caroline Foster had been particularly irritable, and the mansion staff knew perfectly well why. Caroline's phone vibrated on the dressing table. It was a message from her husband, James Richardson. "I won't be able to accompany you tonight. An emergency meeting came up with the campaign sponsors. I'll see you at home later." Caroline threw the phone in frustration. "Damn it! How dare he leave me alone for the gala?" "Ma'am, I can finish styling you another day if you prefer not to attend," Heather timidly suggested. "And give those people the satisfaction of not seeing me?" "Never. Finish my hair right now." Meanwhile, at the Morgan Group headquarters, Amanda was finalizing a meeting with the executive team. The I Belong campaign had exceeded all expectations, and now they were planning to expand the concept to the other companies in the group. "I want each of our brands to reflect this same spirit of inclusion and respect," Amanda explained enthusiastically. "From our hotels to our magazines." Victoria Sanders, now the prestigious customer experience director, took notes diligently. In just 1 month, her life had taken a radical turn, from being a receptionist mistreated by arrogant customers to being part of the executive team of one of the most important conglomerates in America. "Amanda," Victoria intervened when the meeting was about to end, "there's something you should..." "So?" Mrs. Foster confirmed her attendance at tonight's gala. A murmur went through the room. Everyone knew that the American Cultural Foundation was honorarily presided over by Sophia Morgan, and that Morgan Group was its main sponsor. Caroline Foster's presence after the incident would be, at the very least, uncomfortable. "Perfect," Amanda replied with a serenity that surprised everyone. "Make sure she receives exactly the same treatment as any other guest, no more, no less." When the meeting ended, Robert Quinn approached Amanda with concern. "Are you sure about allowing that woman to attend, after how she treated you?" "This isn't about revenge, Robert. It's about education, and sometimes the most powerful lesson is contrast." That night, the Lincoln Center shone with thousands of lights illuminating its magnificent facade. The American elite paraded down the red carpet, displaying dazzling jewels and exclusive designer suits. Among them, Caroline Foster advanced alone, with her head held high, pretending not to notice the whispers her presence provoked. "Did you see who came?" "How dare she after what she did?" some guests commented. "They say the Morgans have closed all doors to her in the social circle," others whispered. Caroline tried to maintain her composure, but inside she felt how her privileged world was crumbling. In recent weeks, she had been discreetly excluded from important events. Her friends of years began to avoid her, and invitations to exclusive parties had drastically decreased. Upon entering the majestic main hall, she desperately sought a friendly face. It was then that she saw her, Amanda Morgan, radiant in a stunning red dress that proudly embraced her curves. Next to her, Sophia Morgan, animated, conversed with some of the most influential businessmen in the country. To Caroline's surprise, Amanda not only didn't ignore her but approached her directly, with Robert Quinn following her at a prudent distance. "Mrs. Foster, how nice to see you tonight," Amanda greeted with a genuine smile that disconcerted Caroline. "Amanda, I wanted to apologize for what happened at the boutique. I didn't know who you were and—" "Don't apologize for not recognizing me," Amanda interrupted kindly. "Apologize for believing that someone deserves to be treated with contempt, whoever they may be." Caroline lowered her gaze, unable to maintain eye contact. "I'm sorry," she finally murmured. "Apology accepted," Amanda responded. "Now if I may offer you some advice, the world is changing, Mrs. Foster. Either we change with it or we get left behind." With those words, Amanda walked away to join her mother, leaving Caroline with a mixture of shame and confusion. It wasn't the public humiliation she had feared, but somehow that kindness was even more disconcerting. The evening went by like a nightmare for Caroline. People who previously competed for her attention now barely greeted her. They even placed her at a table far from the stage with second-tier guests. When Sophia Morgan took the stage to give her inaugural speech, the silence was absolute. Elegant as always, the matriarch of the Morgan clan spoke about the importance of art and culture as vehicles for social transformation. "This year, our foundation has a new focus," she announced. "Under my daughter Amanda's direction, we have created a scholarship program for young artists from marginalized communities, because we believe that talent does not distinguish social classes, bodies, genders, or conditions. Talent only needs an opportunity." The applause was deafening. Amanda joined her mother on stage, and together they presented an emotional video where young people from diverse backgrounds shared their artistic dreams. From her secluded table, Caroline observed with a mixture of envy and admiration. The Morgans had not only maintained their power and influence, they had renewed and strengthened it through this new inclusive vision. Meanwhile, her husband James saw how his political aspirations vanished as sponsors. Many of them connected to Morgan Group withdrew their support. At the end of the gala, when guests were beginning to leave, Caroline unexpectedly found herself alone with Sophia Morgan in the lobby. "Sophia, please," Caroline pleaded, abandoning all dignity. "This has to end. James is losing sponsors. I'm being excluded from everything. It was a mistake, I admit it, but it doesn't deserve such punishment." Sophia looked at her with a mixture of pity and firmness. "We're not doing anything against you, Caroline. We simply stopped privileging you. That's the difference you never understood. You confused privilege with right, and when privilege is withdrawn, it feels like oppression to those who were accustomed to it." "What can I do to remedy this?" asked Caroline on the verge of tears. "Learn, change, evolve, or stay behind. It's your choice." The next day, the gala occupied the front pages of all social magazines. Photographs of Amanda Morgan, radiant in her red dress, appeared alongside. Headlines that proclaimed her as the new face of American philanthropy and the heiress who is revolutionizing inclusive fashion. Caroline Foster, for her part, barely appeared in some group shots, relegated to a background she had never experienced before. Her phone, which previously didn't stop ringing with invitations and proposals, remained disturbingly silent. Meanwhile, at Morgan Group headquarters, Victoria Sanders was finishing presenting her proposal for an inclusive care training program for all staff of the group's companies. "The program will be called Respect First," she explained enthusiastically. "It will consist of experiential workshops where our employees will experience firsthand what it means to be excluded or discriminated against because of their appearance." "It's brilliant, Victoria," Amanda approved. "Who better than you to—" Lead this? You experience both sides. You were part of the problem, and now you're part of the solution. Victoria nodded with contained tears. I'll never forget how I felt when I treated you badly without knowing who you were. That shame transformed me. It's not about shame, Amanda gently corrected. It's about awareness, and awareness is the first step for true change. 1 month after the gala, Caroline Foster's life had changed drastically. Her husband, James Richardson, had lost so many sponsors that he was forced to suspend his political campaign. Her friends of years avoided her, fearful of being associated with someone who had fallen from grace with the Morgans. Even her domestic employees treated her with a coldness they had never shown before. That morning, sitting alone in the spacious dining room of her mansion, Caroline contemplated her reflection in a silver spoon. The distorted image it returned seemed a perfect metaphor for her current life. "Ma'am," interrupted Dolores, her lifelong housekeeper, "you have a visitor." "Who is it?" "I'm not expecting anyone," Caroline replied without raising her gaze. "Miss Amanda Morgan." Caroline raised her head suddenly, incredulous. "Amanda Morgan? Here? There must be a mistake." "It's no mistake, Mrs. Foster." Amanda's voice resonated from the dining room door. There she was, dressed in an elegant navy blue suit that proudly highlighted her curves. "Amanda." "What a surprise," Caroline stammered, getting up awkwardly. "Please, sit down. Dolores, bring coffee for Miss Morgan." "It won't be necessary, Dolores, thank you," Amanda intervened kindly. "I'll be brief." When they were alone, an uncomfortable silence settled between the two women. Finally, Amanda spoke. "I've come to make you a proposal, Caroline." "A proposal?" she asked, disconcerted. "What kind of proposal?" "Morgan Group is launching a new clothing line called Renaissance. It's a collection specifically designed for women who are reinventing themselves after difficult moments." Caroline looked at her without understanding. "And what do I have to do with that?" "Want you to be the face of the campaign." The silence that followed was so deep that Caroline could hear the beating of her own heart. Was it a cruel joke, a sophisticated way to publicly humiliate her? "I don't understand," she finally said. "After how I treated you, why would you offer me something like that?" Amanda smiled slightly. "Because there's something more powerful than revenge, Caroline. Transformation. I don't want to bring you down. I want to give you the opportunity to change, just as you gave me the opportunity to change our companies with your attitude that day at the boutique." Tears began to roll down Caroline's perfectly made-up cheeks. For the first time in her life, someone was seeing her not as the wife of an influential politician or as a powerful socialite, but as a human being capable of evolving. "I don't know if I can do it," she confessed between sobs. "I don't know if I can change who I am." "No one is asking you to change who you are," Amanda replied firmly. "I'm just asking you to expand your vision of the world, to grow." That same afternoon, at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center in Los Angeles, Amanda was visiting her father as she did every day. Edward Morgan remained in a vegetative state, connected to machines that monitored his vital signs. The doctors had been clear. The possibilities of recovery were minimal. "Hi, Dad," Amanda greeted as she sat next to the bed. "Today I did something you might not approve of, or maybe you would. I'm not sure anymore what you would think." She told him about her visit to Caroline Foster and the proposal she had made to her. While she was talking, she noticed something strange. Her father's hand seemed to tremble slightly. "Dad?" she asked, getting closer. "Can you hear me?" The movement was subtle but unmistakable. Edward Morgan gently squeezed his daughter's hand. "Nurse!" Amanda shouted, without letting go of her father's hand. "Please, come quickly." The doctors came immediately. After conducting several examinations, they confirmed what seemed impossible. Edward Morgan was awakening from his vegetative state. It was a slow process, they explained, and there was still a long way to go, but the signs were promising. "It's a miracle," whispered Sophia, who had arrived at the hospital as soon as she received her daughter's call. "After all these months." While Sophia spoke with the doctors, Amanda took the opportunity to call Victoria. She needed to reorganize her schedule for the next few days to be able to spend more time at the hospital. "Don't worry," Victoria reassured her. "I'll take care of everything. By the way, Robert wants to show you the first conceptual photographs for the Renaissance campaign. They're incredible. Tell him I'll review them tomorrow. Right now, my father needs me." During the following days, the hospital became Amanda's second home. She spent hours by Edward's bedside, telling him about the changes she had implemented, in the group's companies, about the I Belong campaign, and about her future plans. Although her father still couldn't speak, his eyes were beginning to show sparks of recognition. On the 7th day after Edward's awakening, something unexpected happened. Caroline Foster appeared at the hospital with a huge bouquet of flowers. "I heard about your father," she explained when Amanda received her in the waiting room. "I wanted to come personally to wish him a speedy recovery." Amanda observed her curiously. There was something different about Caroline. It wasn't just her appearance, simpler and less ostentatious than usual, but something in her gaze. "Thank you for coming," Amanda replied sincerely. "I didn't expect to see you here." "I've been thinking a lot about your proposal," said Caroline, sitting next to her, "about being the face of Renaissance. And have you made a decision?" "Yes," Caroline nodded. "But first I want to tell you something. All my life I've built my identity around belonging to certain circles, being recognized by certain people. When all that disappeared, I felt empty, as if I were nobody." Amanda listened in silence, surprised by the vulnerability shown by this woman who had always seemed so sure of herself. "These months have been hell," Caroline continued, "but also a revelation. I've realized how much harm I've caused to so many people with my attitude, with my comments, with my constant need to feel superior. And now I want to change, Amanda. I really want to change." Tears began to roll down Caroline's face. Amanda, moved, took her hand. "So do you accept being our model?" "Yes," Caroline replied, wiping away her tears. "But I don't want to be just a model. I want to really get involved in the campaign. I want to use my experience to help other women who, like me, need to reinvent themselves." At that moment, a nurse approached Amanda. "Miss Morgan, your father is asking for you." "Asking?" Amanda repeated, incredulous. "Is he talking?" "Yes, he said his first words a few minutes ago." Amanda jumped up and ran to her father's room, with Caroline following her at a certain distance. Upon entering, she found Edward Morgan semi-incorporated in the bed, with Sophia at his side, both with tears in their eyes. "Dad," whispered Amanda, approaching. Edward looked at her intently. His voice was weak but clear when he finally spoke. "I'm proud of you." 3 months later, Edward Morgan's recovery was progressing extraordinarily. Although he still used a wheelchair and his speech was slow, the doctors were amazed by his progress. He had returned to the family mansion, where a room on the ground floor had been specially conditioned for him, with all the necessary medical equipment. That sunny morning, Edward observed from the terrace the preparations for the big event that would take place that night in the mansion's gardens, the official launch of Eternal Elegance's Renaissance collection. "Nervous about your first public event since the hospital?" Amanda asked as she sat next to her father. Edward smiled slightly. His face, previously severe and dominant, now showed a warmth that Amanda didn't remember ever seeing. "Nervous about seeing my daughter shine," he replied with effort but with evident pride in every word. Amanda took his hand. During these months of recovery, she had discovered a father different from the cold and calculating man she remembered. The Edward Morgan, who slowly emerged from that vegetative state, seemed more reflective, more aware of what was truly important in life. "Dad, there's something I want to ask you," Amanda said after a moment of silence. "Do you really approve of the changes I've made in the companies? They're very different from your traditional business vision." Edward breathed deeply before responding. "While I was unconscious, I could hear. I heard you talking to me, telling me your ideas. At first, I didn't understand. But then, I saw the truth." "What truth, Dad?" that true? Power is not in controlling, but in transforming. Tears appeared in Amanda's eyes. It was exactly what she had tried to demonstrate with her actions, that true power was not in humiliating those who had hurt you, but in giving them the opportunity to change and grow. Meanwhile, in another part of the mansion, Caroline Foster was preparing for her debut as the face of Renaissance. In front of the mirror, she barely recognized the woman who looked back at her. It wasn't just the more natural makeup or the less elaborate hairstyle. It was something in her eyes, a mixture of humility and determination that had never been there before. "Ready for tonight?" asked Victoria Sanders, who had arrived to finalize the details of the event. "Nervous," confessed Caroline. "It's not every day that one has the opportunity to publicly redeem oneself." "It's not about redemption," Victoria gently corrected. "It's about evolution. We all make mistakes, Caroline. What's important is what we do afterward." Victoria, who months ago trembled at Caroline Foster's intimidating presence, now spoke to her as an equal. That was perhaps the most surprising transformation of all. Hierarchies based on fear and intimidation had given way to relationships based on mutual respect. As evening fell, guests began to arrive. The American elite, curious to see the latest innovation from the Morgans, mingled with influencers, body diversity activists, and personalities from the fashion world. To the surprise of many, there were also workers from the different Morgan Group companies, from hotel chambermaids to textile factory operators. "Why did you invite employees?" Sophia asked her daughter as they received the guests. "Because they are a fundamental part of our transformation," Amanda replied. "Tonight is not just about a new clothing collection. It's about a new way of understanding our company and our responsibility." Robert Quinn, elegant in his designer suit but always maintaining his professional discretion, coordinated the security team. His photographs for the Renaissance campaign, exhibited on huge panels around the garden, showed Caroline Foster in everyday situations, reading in a park, walking through the city, conversing with diverse women. The images conveyed authenticity and vulnerability, two qualities that no one would have associated with Caroline months ago. When the time came for the official presentation, Amanda took the stage installed in the center of the garden. The spotlights illuminated her figure, highlighting the beautiful dress from the new collection that she wore with pride. "Good evening, everyone," she began. "6 months ago, I entered one of our boutiques dressed in casual clothes and was treated with contempt for not belonging to the expected customer profile. That painful experience planted the seed of a transformation that we celebrate together today." A murmur went through the audience. Some already knew the story, but hearing it directly from Amanda gave it a much more personal and powerful dimension. "Renaissance is not just a clothing collection," she continued. "It's a declaration of principles. It's our way of saying that everyone deserves respect, regardless of their appearance, their size, or their social origin. And to present it, we have chosen someone who personifies what it means to be reborn and reinvent oneself. Please welcome with applause Caroline Foster." The silence became absolute when Caroline took the stage. Many of those present perfectly remembered the arrogant and contemptuous woman who used to dominate social events. The Caroline they saw now, elegant but simple, with a nervous but genuine smile, seemed a completely different person. "Thank you, Amanda," Caroline began with a trembling voice. "6 months ago, I was the woman who asked for Amanda Morgan to be expelled from Eternal Elegance for not looking as she should. Today, I am here to publicly ask for forgiveness from her and all those whom I have unfairly judged throughout my life." Tears began to run down her cheeks, but Caroline let them flow without trying to hide them. "For months, I suffered the consequences of my actions. I lost friendships, invitations, social status, and in that painful process, I discovered something fundamental, that my value as a person does not depend on who I know or what brand of clothing I wear. It depends on how I treat others and how I treat myself." The applause began spontaneously. James Richardson, who observed his wife from the front row, felt a mixture of pride and amazement. The failed political campaign had been a hard blow to his ego, but seeing Caroline transform, find her voice and her purpose, made him question his own priorities. Renaissance is more than fashion, Caroline continued with renewed confidence. It's an invitation to all women to rediscover themselves, to honor their true essence, because all of us, regardless of our size, age, or circumstances, deserve to feel beautiful, respected, and valued. When she finished her speech, the audience stood to applaud. Amanda joined Caroline on stage, and in a gesture that surprised everyone, they embraced. It was the perfect image to symbolize the spirit of the collection: reconciliation, forgiveness, personal evolution. From his wheelchair, in the front row, Edward Morgan observed with tears in his eyes. His daughter, whom he had always considered too idealistic for the business world, had achieved what he never could: transform a profitable company into a company with purpose without sacrificing economic success. Morgan Group's sales had increased by 60% since the launch of the I Belong campaign, and surveys showed that the brand was now perceived as authentic, inclusive, and visionary. After the official presentation, while guests enjoyed the reception, Amanda sat next to her father. "What did you think?" she asked, anxious to know his opinion. "Extraordinary," Edward replied, increasingly fluent in his speech. "You've changed the game, Mandy, not just for our company, for the entire industry." "I learned from the best," she smiled, taking his hand. "No," Edward firmly denied. "I taught you to make money. You are teaching me to generate value." At that moment, Robert approached Amanda discreetly. "Sorry for the interruption, but there's a situation I think you should see." Intrigued, Amanda followed him to a more secluded area of the garden. There she found Victoria animatedly conversing with a group of young women. To her surprise, she recognized several of them as employees of Eternal Elegance boutiques. "What's happening?" she asked. "These girls want to thank you personally," Victoria explained. "Since we implemented the new policies, their work life has completely changed. They no longer have to endure mistreatment from customers, nor pretend to be someone they're not." One of the young women, barely a teenager, stepped forward. "Miss Morgan, when I started working at Eternal Elegance a year ago, they told me I had to lose weight if I wanted to stay there. I felt humiliated every day. Now for the first time I feel valued for my work, not judged by my appearance." Amanda hugged her, deeply moved. That was the true measure of her success, not the numbers in the financial statements, but the transformed lives, the restored dignities. As she returned to her father, Amanda reflected on the journey traveled. What had begun as a humiliating experience in a luxury boutique had triggered a silent revolution that now extended far beyond Morgan Group. Companies, other brands, were beginning to follow her example, recognizing that inclusion was not only ethically correct, but also profitable. Caroline Foster, for her part, had found a new purpose in life. Besides being the face of Renaissance, she had founded a non-profit organization dedicated to empowering women in vulnerable situations. Her experience of losing everything, or what she considered everything, had given her an invaluable perspective to help others rebuild themselves. When the party was about to end, Amanda looked around. Her father, whose recovery seemed a miracle, her mother, whose silent elegance had always been her greatest strength, Victoria and Robert, who had gone from being fearful employees to invaluable allies, and even Caroline, who had traveled the most surprising path of all. In that moment, she understood the deepest lesson of her adventure, that true power did not reside in saying, "I won," but in ensuring that no one else had to go through what she went through. It wasn't in revenge, but in transformation, not in excluding, but in including. As the last guests were leaving, Edward Morgan gestured for his daughter to come closer. "Do you know the difference between a good business person and a great leader?" he asked, with the renewed wisdom that his experience had given him. "Tell me, Dad." "A good business person builds a successful company. A great leader builds a legacy that transcends, that transforms lives." Amanda nodded, with moist eyes. "So, Do you consider me a good businesswoman or a great leader? Edward smiled, with a pride that illuminated his tired but serene face. I consider you my greatest lesson and the best future for everything I built. Under the starry Los Angeles sky, as the party lights went out one by one, Morgan understood that her silent revolution was just beginning, and although she had never raised her voice, her message resonated louder than any shout. Dear listeners, we hope that the story of Amanda Morgan and Caroline Foster has moved you and shown you that true power lies in transformation, not revenge. To continue this emotional journey, we have prepared a special playlist with equally captivating stories about personal overcoming and social transformation. Find it here by clicking to your left. If you like this story of empowerment and redemption, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give the video a like. Every day we bring unique stories that explore the complexity of human relationships and personal growth. Have you ever experienced a similar transformation in your lives? Have you had to forgive someone who hurt you, or have you needed forgiveness from others? We await you in the comments to continue this conversation.